Привет, друзья! Сегодня я хочу сначала ответить на вопрос. Какой вопрос? Почему я не говорю по-русски в своих видео? Почему? Это просто. Потому что это сложно. Конечно, я могу говорить по-русски, когда мне нужно. Но когда я говорю по-русски, это, не знаю, это просто вещи. Может быть, на ресторане, в магазине, на улице, это не трудно. Но когда мне нужно говорить очень важная информация, это трудно. Поэтому я говорю по-английски. So, why do I speak English in my videos? Why don't I speak Russian? Because it's difficult. Maybe later, when I have more confidence or more knowledge of the Russian language, specifically the grammar, I'll do more videos or a video in Russian. Maybe that should be my goal, is to do one solid video in only Russian. But right now, today, I want a different topic. I want to talk about how to get your Russian driver's license. I've had a lot of people ask me, why am I studying Russian for my Russian driver's license? What are you doing? And I do a lot of videos or I take photos at least, what I'm doing today. And it's always sitting at a restaurant, of course, getting fatter, but sitting at a restaurant or a cafe studying the Russian, studying for the Russian driver's license exam. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a video on how I'm doing it. Now, there are several ways to get your Russian driver's license. I am going to discuss how I'm doing it. Now, there's going to be a lot of Russians or people in Russia who are going to tell me I'm wrong. You need to do this. You need to go buy it here. You don't need to do that. It's easier here. Go talk to this person. I understand all that. But in today's situation, what I'm doing is the right way for me. So there are 3 ways to get your Russian driver's license. 1, you can do everything right, which I'll give you those details of what those are, because there's 4 different parts to it, but you can go and take the test or tests. 2, the Russian government instituted last year a driver's license exchange program. So if you qualify for that, you can exchange your country's driver's license for a Russian driver's license. And the only thing you need to do in most of the situations is take the required medical examinations. And I'll get to that, what that is, because you need that in any situation. You have to have that. And 3rd, which is not a way that I suggest you do because it's illegal, and not a way that I'm going to do, is you buy your driver's license. Let me take care of the easiest one first. When I asked many of my friends, or discuss with my friends, discuss with my friends what I'm doing. Like, hey, what are you doing? I'm studying for my Russian driver's license. Why? Like, because I need to. You don't, I got a guy. Or I'll ask them questions like, hey, what do you think of this question? Or in the very, very beginning, I was like, hey, do you know where I need to go? Do you know the best auto school, the auto school, driver's ed? And they ultimately go back to, why do you need to take the test? I know a guy. And in fact, I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to do everything legal. Like, no. I had several friends go, no. And they don't listen to me. And I call their friend. And their friend asks one question. Does he have a Russian passport? No. Can't help him. Click. Oh, no, I know another guy. I'm like, listen, I don't want to do it. It's the same answer. Today's situation, even someone who's going to sell you a driver's license, 1, don't do it. It's illegal. 2, they're not going to do it for a foreigner, not in today's climate. Russia is really, let's be honest, it's at war, and they're not, the way that Russia deals with foreigners right now is not how it was 5 years ago. And most of my friends, I'm not going to mention names, did not take the test to get the driver's license. So it's very interesting. Like the majority of them did not. Now, of course, that was also 10 plus years ago. Things have changed. I also have some younger friends now that are studying, doing everything the way that I'm doing it, which I think is the right way. And one friend in my one of my language clubs, she's Russian. She passed her theoretical exam, but she failed the driver's exam, and she's got to redo it. So that's what I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to get a little technical. I'm going to show you, or I'm going to tell you what the requirements are, and then I'm going to show you, which is the most important part of this video, how I study for the theoretical exam. So let's back up, and I want to talk about the requirements to obtain your Russian driver's license. And by the way, yes, a foreigner can obtain a Russian driver's license. There is zero requirements other than being registered somewhere to get your Russian driver's license. Now, by the way, everything I say may not be 100% correct. If I'm wrong, you can blast me all you want. My wife tells me I'm wrong at least twice a day. I can handle it. But this is all from most of the information as I know it. So number one, no matter what, you have to get your medical certificate. And part of your medical certificate, it's very similar to if you applied for your residence permit, permanent or temporary. It's very similar to that procedure. Got to get blood, but they also do an eye examination. They do a psychological examination, which is just a series of questions, whatever the doctor wants to ask you, and a blood. I don't know what they're testing. Maybe I mentioned blood, but though you've got to do it. The problem is, depending on where you're at, I did mine in Lipetsk. Moscow may be completely different. So again, I'm speaking of my experiences. All of what I said is not in the same location. You have to go to different locations. And and I like this, by the way, this is not a complaint. The way that Lipetsk does it, as I said before, everyone has to do this. They have a different place for foreigners to go get their medical, and where Russians get their medical. And I like it because if you're Russian and you need some physical or something, maybe you're going to a sanatoria and doctors need to look at stuff. Well, you don't want to stand in line with a bunch of foreigners. So different places for foreigners. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. So one, you got to have your medical certificate. Two, you have to obtain a driver's ed. And there are some ways around it, but for the purposes of this video, I'm telling you that as a requirement, you have to complete driver's ed. Now, inside of driver's ed, they have their own examinations you have to pass in order to graduate. And one is the theoretical, which is questions, and then two is the driving part. And I'm not going to sit here and get detailed into different categories of the license, but basically it's different than the U.S. The U.S., you get a driver's license. Here's your driver's license. Can't drive a large vehicle. I don't know how many tons, and you can't drive anything that you are being hired to have passengers. And then, of course, motorcycle is separate. And then you get into CDL, and there's all kinds of different professional license, but that's it. But in Russia, they have a car with an automatic, and then a car with a stick shift or a manual is separate. And then also in America, if you just get a driver's license, you can drive a stick shift or a manual, and you can pull a small trailer. In Russia, that is a separate license. And of course, motorcycle in both countries is a separate endorsement, as we call them, or category in Russia calls them, on your license. And it's my understanding you cannot get your motorcycle and your trailer endorsements or categories until after 1 year, I believe, for trailer and 2 years for motorcycle. So you can't even get them in the beginning. And they have auto school for that too, by the way. So again, you need to complete medical. 2, you need to have a certificate of completion of Autoschule. So there's 2 things you need. And then 3, you have to go and take the theoretical exam at the road police. Theoretical exam is simply a test, a written test, on the computer. And it is observed with cameras, and it's at the road police. So you have actually uniformed police officers standing there watching you take the test. And then 4th is the road examination. No different than most countries. The The toughest one for me, of course, I've been driving for over 35 years. I don't think driving's going to be that difficult, but that doesn't mean I can very easily pass the Russian driver's exam because they do things a little different. And of course, I have to listen to the commands of the driver in Russian. And I don't know yet, I would doubt it, and I'm not planning for it, that I can't bring my wife to translate for me. If the lady says, go ahead, after the stoplight, turn left, I need to understand, she says, after the stoplight, turn left. And if I wait for the stoplight, it turns green, I turn right, guess what? You fail. So I need to make sure I understand. That's going to be the hardest thing in the driving exam for me, just to understand that. There are some tricks of the trade. If you go to a driver's school where you're going to do the test at the road police, often your driver's ed will do the same routes. They know the routes, kind of how it works. To help you pass. You go to my school, I know the routes that they're going to take, and then I'll take you the different routes. So that does help. But for me, auto school, probably off those school, that probably is the best solution for me, but it's 2 to 3 months. Some are shorter, some are longer. Different schools have different programs. You can do a lot of the classroom online, some of it in person, but you still have to have a minimum set of hours with a driver. And some schools include it in one set price, and it's anywhere from 10,000 rubles up to 50,000 rubles, depends on your school. Some schools charge the classroom work separate from the driving. It's part of the same program, but it's different. You just go on your app and you say, I want to make an appointment to drive tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and you go tomorrow and drive at 2 o'clock for an hour, and it just takes forever to do. I did find a school that was willing to let me do it in an extremely shorter amount of time, but making sure they comply with every step of the law, because I don't want to do anything outside of the law. So that's that. So today I just wanted to show reality of studying for the theoretical exam, the written exam. It is difficult. My understanding, please everyone tell me I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, it's difficult for Russian-speaking people, for Russians. And so you can imagine for foreigners, because guess what, everybody? It's not in your language. It is all in Russian. You are not given a cheat sheet. You're not given a translation, a translator, nothing. It's you, a computer, and the questions. So the questions. There are 800 possible questions. And out of 800 questions, there are 40 different exams. Each exam consists of 20 questions. Now, I might be a little wrong in that calculation because there's a little extra in here. So when you go to take an exam, one of the exams available, 40 exams available, I believe that's right, you'll get 20 questions. You miss one question, you get 5 more questions. So you miss 2 questions, you're okay. You miss 3, you're done. You're out. Well, I need to check. We'll see. We'll do a practice one here in a minute. If you miss 2, do you get 5 more? You may. So you may end up having to do 30 questions. We'll see. We're actually going to do it. I'm going to show you an exam, and I'll show you where to go to do the practice exam. So it's difficult. So what you have to do is you have to learn all 800 questions. And it's my understanding the first 20 is like this exam, and then they pull the extra ones if you get it wrong. They pull it from the other 800 questions. So there's still, my understanding is a finite amount of questions. It's 800 questions. Now, some of them are cartoons, kartinkis. So you can just look at the picture, like, oh, I know the answer is 2 on that, because you can just memorize the slide, the cartoon. But they trick you up. They know that you're doing that, so they'll show you a cartoon, but they'll ask a question. They'll say, if you were in the left lane, what can you do? And you'll have a similar cartoon with just a different sign. It's knockoff. You'll have a different sign that means something completely different. And then they'll ask you. So they ask you questions to make sure that you're not just memorizing the slide in front of you. However, it's not 100% necessary that you remember that you learn every single word of every single question. To be quite honest, unless you're a B2, I'm not quite sure. B2 being the level of language speaking in Russian, I'm not quite sure you can do that. I am a very low level speaker. Unfortunately, I am around an A2, and my biggest hang up is grammar. And I would say I'm at the bottom end of an A2. Bottom end of an A2 speaker because I don't have the grammar mastered yet. If I can master that grammar, when I say master, I mean the basics, how to say words in the correct padazhi. I don't have that. I have some of them, but it's difficult. So that's where I am. So these questions, a lot of these words I've never seen before. And then here's one of the most difficult set of questions is they have a first aid section. Big difference between the U.S. and in Russia. In the U.S., maybe it's because of lawyers like me, but if you get an accident and someone's hurt, unlike the U.S. and Russia, you are obligated to help them, and you're obligated to perform first aid. That's my understanding. As far as my purposes, I'm just obligated to learn it. So you have to learn some basics. It reminds me a lot of when I was in the Army, some basic life-saving skills. How to put a splint on, how to bandage someone's put their arm in a sling, how to stop the bleeding from a head wound, how to do chest compressions. Those are the basic questions, but if you can imagine your Russian sucks like mine, and then you've got to learn first aid in Russian, and then get quizzed on it, and you can only miss 2 of all the questions. It's very stressful. So my approach was a little expensive, and maybe others can't do this, but I have a teacher, a Russian language teacher, and we stopped learning grammar. We stopped everything about June, and maybe a little before June. And all we have been doing now is every day, about an hour, Monday through Friday, we study the 800 questions. And we start off the session she already knows. She'll come and we'll just do vocabulary of new words that she knows I don't know. And we study those words. And then we go back and we do the questions. And when there's words I don't know, we stop what we're doing and we do it. But what we're not doing is we're not worrying about grammar. It's just too difficult. We don't have time. We would spend 1 hour and do 2 questions if we're going to sit there and make sure I understand every single case of every single sentence of every single question. It's not my goal. My goal here is to pass the exam. So we're going through the questions, looking for keywords, key phrases, and helping me get the correct answer. Now, it is helping me. It's also helping me because as I keep seeing the same phrases and things like that, I can see the patterns of the case. I'm like, oh, that's genitive. I understand that. And of course, I can see real quick that's with something. So I am learning the grammar as we go, but we're not concentrating on it. And I think that's important not to do, at least in my case. I have a friend, engineer, American, mechanical engineer. He did everything that I'm doing, and he did it very quickly. He's very, very intelligent, and all he did was memorize the cartoons and memorize key phrases and just kept doing them until he got them all correct. His driver's test was a little easier. He got it very lucky in where he lived. He just did a real easy test, and the woman kind of laughed at him and said, I think you know how to drive, and still made him do the box test and all that. And she kind of laughed and just kind of said, here you go, you passed. But he still did everything right. His auto school was a little different. He didn't really do all of his school. He showed up several times, and they kind of laughed and said, I think you know how to drive. It said, come back and we'll give you your certificate. So they did. So mine's a little like that, but not quite. I'm still got to do some of the minimums, but I'm not going to the school for 2 to 3 months, thank goodness. But that also puts pressure on me because I'm not going to have that help of driving in the routes where the test is going to be. And that's that. So that's what this video is about. It's rather a long video. So what I'm going to do now is get into how I practice. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the questions for the exam. This website is a must. I don't care if you don't listen to anything I say after this, you need to listen to this. Go to this website that I have here, pdd24.com. From there, you can figure it out, but you actually have the exact thread right here, pdd24.com/pdd/online, it says, but I will put it below. So that way you can very easily click on it. As I said before, this is, to my understanding, how you can study for the exam. I may say something wrong. Again, that's fine. Feel free to correct me. But this is how I do it. So this is how it looks when you come to the site. There are some tricks to the trade, of course. You can do whatever is best for you. But this box right here is the most important box. So once you get here, you're looking for this box. Some websites will take you straight to just the exam. Some websites will take you straight to the questions. Some will take you to the topics, because they're sub-pages of this page. But this is the page that you want, because you want all of these different pages, basically. So I want to go through with what they are. The first one is the actual exam. You can do an actual exam. As I said before, the exam is 20 questions. There are 40 different exams. Here are the different exams. And this is wonderful because it actually has the different, and they don't change. The questions don't change in each exam. Exam number 1 is exam number 1. And this is exam number 1. 20 questions. And I've done this one, and I just do it until I don't get any more wrong. It's that easy. But it'll tell you, like here, I got one wrong. I stopped. I moved on. I know which one I did. And then here I got 2 wrong, but I still passed. So I moved on. And one of these, I'm not kidding, my finger slipped. I knew the right answer, but I chose the wrong one. And this is one that I still don't know yet. It's obvious I don't know test number 6. So what I did was I figured out I did not. There was a set of questions, 4 or 5 of them, of a certain topic that I'm like, okay, I don't understand this topic, so I stopped. And that's what's great about this, because here's the most magic button here. Is this. These are the topics, the categories. And you can see here, now they're all here. And these are the different categories. So I am studying with my Russian language teacher each category one by one by one. This was today. I have it. I still have some mistakes. I've corrected the mistakes. I know which the mistakes are, and one of them was confusing. But this is about passing, and it's a really confusing one about passing uphill. Whoever's going uphill has the right of way. So a couple of the logics are the opposite of the U.S. So you just have to turn your U.S. brain off on some of these and follow the Russian/European logic on road rules. But what's important is you can see I keep studying them until I get to 0. Then I know I've mastered that topic. And you can also see there's some topics that we haven't done yet. Well, not very many, to be honest. But we just haven't completed. Haven't done this one yet. Haven't done this one or this one. You can see this. Haven't done them yet. And of course, by the time I get them all, I finish one, I'm sure I'm going to forget and have to repeat. But that's what the practice exams are for. But this is very important that you have this categories. You don't have to do it this way. My American friend didn't do it this way. He just kept doing the exams until he got them all right. But for me, I wanted to learn a little bit more, so we do it this way. Now, what's interesting is if you just want to go to the 100 Sloznik, the difficult, hard's a better word. These are the 100 hardest questions. Figuring out what you can do with this little guy, what you can do, and then they throw in the the combination of you have to know what to do when his hand is that way, facing that way, and you got to know what to do with the trem vi because there's rules about that. So this one is very difficult because it's actually 2 rules in one, and you have to figure it out. But that's the 100 most difficult ones. But this one is also very interesting. This shows all the questions 0 horas. So I have not done any of these questions. So as you can see, at 800, I'm still not done. I still have not read 260 questions. Just have not done them yet. Now, it's interesting because if you go over here, here's all 800 questions. So if you think that I was kidding that there's 800 questions, here they are. 800. You can do it random. There's no rhyme or reason, but here they are. For me, this really doesn't serve any purpose. See, I messed up. Now I got to go back. Here we go. So, like I said, it doesn't serve any purpose for me to do that. The way that I'm then doing it is through this way, and we go through it and we figure it out, which for me is the absolute best way. I need to switch back to my local Wi-Fi. So now I want to show you some of the things that make it can make it easier for me, and it all depends on your web browser and all that. I have different techniques. When it comes to sitting with my teacher, like I said, we randomly just pick some. We'll go, okay, which ones? There's 43 questions in this category, and we just start. And I read this. I read every single question. I read every single answer. And again, we're not here to talk about grammar, and we're not yet. She does try to make sure that I do pronounce it the best that I can, but it's more for making sure I understand what I'm saying. Of course, we did some really basic words before we started. Rasrashai, it's zaprashai, it's allowed or not allowed. So some of those things that I may or may not have known in the beginning, we studied. We probably did, I would say, almost a week's worth of vocabulary before we ever started doing questions. And then halfway through, and we got to a new topic about turn signals, brake lights, we stopped and we did a couple days of vocabulary again. And that's why it always helps, I think, to do this with a Russian, especially a teacher. It was really good. And she has a driver's license, so it actually helped. She remembers taking the test. It was kind of funny. She said after teaching me, she could probably retake the test and pass, where before she's older, she's in her 40s. She goes, I don't think I could have done it before teaching you. So that's what we did. But one of the tricks that I do sometimes is I'll go through all of these questions. This is a lot. Let's take a smaller one that we can do that has just a couple questions. And of course I want to make sure it's one that I can answer. Let's see. No, moped. Okay, so here's a moped. So this is questions about moped, and it is topic 24. It only has 13 questions. So what I would do is I would just translate to English, and I would just keep doing the questions until I understand it. And which drivers are breaking the rules. Okay, and they get tricky because there's several rules in here. First of all, this is a highway. Mopeds can't drive on a highway. And second, whenever there's 3 lanes, a truck that weighs 3 tons not allowed to drive in the left lane. So here, drivers of a truck with a maximum permitted weight of 3 tons in a moped. So the green is the correct answer. Okay, so let's move on to number 2. And then here, which of the following signs permit the movement of mopeds? Well, this is right here. This is the only one. And I bought the book, by the way. I bought several books on signs, knockoff, and you do need that. And that was one of the things we did in the very beginning. We went over each sign and what it means. So here, the only one here that pertains to is this one. But you got to be careful when it's in English. The letters don't quite work very well, and it takes some practice with that. And I can switch back and forth. and make sure I understand it. Only V, va, so we know it's that. But if you switch back to Russian, you'll see Tokova. Okay, that's great. So let's say I'm wrong. Let's say I say it's this one. I know it's va, but I'm just going to say it's all of them. Let's say it's all of them. I know that's wrong, so I pick that. It's wrong. I can still pick another one. I can go this one. I can go this one. It's that. This is why when you have the cartoons, you can start to memorize, but it's not the wisest way to do it. So I'm like, okay, now I know those are wrong. I'm going to go to the next one. And then here, you have to figure out, again, what I was doing was going through them all in English until I understood it. Which of the moped drivers took the correct position of the lane? You can keep going. When you're in a moped, you got to stay all the way to the right. Now, of course, I need to make sure it says it correctly. I need to switch back to Russian. So the only one that did it right was 2. Okay, I'm going to put it back to English. This sounds weird. I'm just doing this to show you, but I would just keep going in English all the way to the end. That's what I would do. And see, here's some, vopros bez rysunka. So that's a question without the cartoon. I'm just going to pick one randomly and hit next. I'm just going to randomly pick these to show you guys. Again, I'm randomly picking these real quick. Okay. I know that one you're allowed. Okay, and I'm just going to keep going. All of those, that's correct. I know that one. Okay. And then I'm just doing this to the end. Okay. And then, I'm done. Look, I got 8 out of 13 wrong. Oh, that stinks. Well, this magic button here allows you to go through and correct your mistakes. You can just go one by one. I got it wrong. I can't do it. Oh, no, I got to go again. You can keep doing this. Okay, but here's what I think is important. Let's go back to the topics. Now, you can see all the ones that I got wrong. Oh, by the way, I should tell you, some of these questions are in more than one topic. So it's really good for us because it repeats it. Because as I said, you know, a lot of those questions will have 2 questions in one. They actually will be about 2 things, not just one. So the questions we just did was about mopeds, but it also had about signs. So it will be in the signs. And I also talked about what's prohibited, right? So one of the questions was actually in the category of prohibitory, and then one was a highway sign. So it's about highway. One was about what you can't do on a highway. You can't ride a moped on a highway. So it was about the highway. So now you can see all the areas that I made mistakes with my questions today. And this allows you, after you do a bunch, it's like, oh, wow, I really need practice here. I missed 3. Oh, mopeds. Obviously, I missed 8 moped. I really need to concentrate on this area. So it is just an excellent tool. But what I like is you can go on to a new topic, okay? So again, this is just a topic, oncoming traffic. This is also in the passing category. So you'll see these questions more than one. And this one here, this is where it gets tricky. This is about fallen rocks. And you also have to pay attention whether you're going uphill or downhill. But in this situation, it's not about that. I have to pass first. And the reason I have to pass first is because they may not have enough room because of objects. Yes, I know it's very silly. Here, you just pass. I don't know why they were trying to. There's no trick here. You just pass first. And here, which of the signs should a driver give way if an oncoming traffic is difficult to pass? Now here, it is A and V. I know this because it's uphill, and this sign is when you come to a bridge, this side has to stop, and all of that sign. Squares are only recommend do use. So anyway, so I just go through, and then like say this one here, it's the same cartoon we saw before, but it's a different sign. So this one here, you have to give way to the person coming up the hill. So, and in fact, that's one of I have a cheat sheet when I'm practicing. I have the word podvyom, which uphill, so that's a trigger word. So in fact, let me show you that little secret here. That's secret, I guess. So when I'm looking at a question, I'm like, oh, okay, I know this road, but I'm like, oh, I'm not quite sure what they're saying. Oh, nah, padol, padium. Okay, so it's uphill. Oh yeah, I remember uphill. It's that way. I got it. So sometimes that helps me. But now I just want to pick one different. You got to let them through. But I'm just going to pick the wrong answer. I know this is wrong. Okay, this went back up to 9. So let's say I do that. I'm just totally putting them here. Now it's at 10. So it allows you to wait and do different topics and then come back and fix all of your mistakes. Or you can wait to the week, or maybe your teacher wants to see the mistakes you made so they can look at your list. You can do it that way. Okay, so now I want to get to the exam. So here's the exam, right? Exam 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's that simple, right? So you can just pick a regular exam and you can practice this exam. Now this one's a little different because you're just practicing the questions of the exam. It's not going to add any more to your exam. And you can do this just so you can get comfortable with exam number 22 and then move on. Or you can actually do a practice exam. This one here is a practice exam. And let me show you what happens, okay? So, что означает термин обгон? So, and now you have to guess it. Again, I'm just going to go through these and guess, okay? Not guess, I actually knew that one, but this one here, I also know the answer, but I'm going to get this one wrong, okay? So I'm going to go down here, and it says, oh, boy, I got that one wrong because I thought I got it right. Now I got a wrong one. Look what it did. It added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. This is an actual exam, one of 40 you will have at the road police. Now you got to get up. And it doesn't allow more mistakes. You only get 2 mistakes. 2 mistakes, including that. So let's move on. Okay, I know this one, but we're going to just do talk A, and it's going to be wrong. It adds, guess what? More questions. So every time you get one wrong, I answer my own question. Every time you get one wrong, you get 5. So now I have 30 questions, and guess what? I cannot get another one wrong. Doesn't matter. I got 10 more questions. So let's get one wrong. Stopping at the sign. Get this one wrong. Now I got it wrong, right? So you can just keep going, and it'll tell you at the end. Let's just do this. We're just going to keep answering questions just so you can see. It's going to mess up my statistics, by the way, for showing you all this, but it's okay. And the good news is I'm about, I'd say 80% ready, but that really doesn't give me enough. Wow. I'm trying to show you when we get to the end. I really should have, let's do that again. No, never mind. I apologize. I was going to show you when you get to the end of the exam, all 30, and you got more than 2 right, it'll just tell you, unfortunately, you did not pass the exam. But now you can see all the ones I got wrong. I got 20 wrong total. So here again, you see these numbers went up. 7 here on moped, still there, but then look at all these I got wrong. So this is how you study for the exam. And hey, I did some new ones that I haven't done before. You may not remember this number was 260. Now it's 251, even though I didn't read them and I was just guessing for y'all. So this is how I study for the exam, how I am studying for the exam. This is the big one. And just pick the categories and just go and keep doing them until you get them right. Now, when you correct them, when you fix your mistakes, they do get fixed here. So I'm going to go back through just so I can keep an accurate record. I'm going to go back through and fix my mistakes. And when I do it, it will fix them on my mistakes here. Oshipki. So that's it. That's what I wanted to show you. This one here, I guess we could finish with this, and I probably should have started it this way. So if you're studying for a different kind of test, you would go here and you would change the test. But it's not what I want to do. I messed myself out. So see, now it's a different category. This is the category that I'm studying for, which is A1, B1. So now I'm not going to get to my motorcycle license, but it has the questions of it. So that's it. As long as you're on that, you're going to get all the 800, and this is how to do it. So once again, I will put this into the post, but this is what you need to remember, and then once you get there, you can just play around yourself. So that's it. Thank you very much. And you have any questions or you want to correct me, please feel free to correct me. I do not mind. Thank you.